Are you eating what you believe is a healthy diet, yet your legs feel weaker every year, stairs feel harder, and your balance isn't what it used to be? Here's a surprising and uncomfortable truth. Most people don't lose their legs because of age. They lose them because of silent nutritional and metabolic neglect. And by the time the weakness shows up, the damage has often been building for decades. Let me explain what's really going on inside your body. Your legs are not just muscles, they're metabolic engines. They store glucose, regulate insulin, protect your brain from blood sugar swings, and even influence how long you stay independent. In fact, research consistently shows that leg strength is one of the strongest predictors of longevity, fall risk, and cognitive decline in older adults. But here's the problem. As we age, we lose muscle faster, a process called sarcopenia. At the same time, insulin resistance creeps in, blood flow to the legs declines, and protein absorption becomes less efficient. The result? Even if you're eating normally, your legs may be starving at the cellular level. Think of your legs like a large savings account. In your 30s and 40s, you're making regular deposits. But after 50, withdrawals accelerate. And if you're not intentionally replenishing the account with the right nutrients, the balance drops fast. This is why I see so many seniors who say, I eat less than ever. I avoid fat. I cut back on protein to protect my kidneys. I walk every day, but I'm still getting weaker. The issue is not effort. The issue is eating the wrong foods at the wrong times, or missing critical nutrients altogether. Today, we're going to talk about specific foods your legs are biologically dependent on. Foods that directly support muscle protein synthesis, mitochondrial energy, nerve signaling, circulation, and joint integrity. And I want to be very clear. This is not about bodybuilding. This is about walking confidently, getting up from a chair without struggle, climbing stairs without fear, and protecting your independence. In this talk, I'll break down why leg muscle is uniquely sensitive to insulin and protein timing, which nutrients prevent muscle loss even without heavy exercise, how blood sugar and liver health silently determine leg strength, and the exact foods seniors should prioritize before it's too late. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post science-based content like this every day to help you stay strong, mobile, and metabolically healthy as you age. Now, let's start by outlining the 6 critical insights that determine whether your legs weaken or stay powerful as the years go by. Here's the first major mistake I see, and it's one of the most damaging for aging legs. Most seniors are not protein deficient on paper. They are protein signaling deficient in their muscles. Let me explain this with a simple whiteboard-style analogy. Imagine your leg muscles are like construction sites. Protein is the raw material, bricks, steel, concrete. But protein alone doesn't build anything unless the foreman shows up and gives the signal to start construction. That foreman is a molecule called leucine, an amino acid that activates muscle protein synthesis through a pathway known as mTOR. What the research shows is this: as we age, muscles become resistant to protein, a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. That means small or diluted protein servings no longer trigger repair, especially in the legs. So when someone says, when I had a little yogurt, or I had some toast with peanut butter, their leg muscles here. Nothing, no signal, no repair, no strength. Studies in older adults consistently show that muscle protein synthesis requires a higher protein threshold per meal, not spread thin across the day. Roughly 25 to 35 grams of high-quality protein with at least 2.5 grams of leucine is needed to flip the switch. And here's the part most people miss. The legs are the most resistant muscles in the body. They need the strongest signal. So what foods actually do this? The most powerful leg protective proteins are eggs, especially the yolks, wild-caught fish, grass-fed beef, or lamb, whey protein, if tolerated, Greek yogurt, or kefir plant proteins alone rarely hit the leucine threshold unless carefully combined. And that's why many seniors unknowingly lose muscle while eating clean. Now let's talk timing. Muscle repair is most responsive earlier in the day and after movement, even light walking. A protein-rich breakfast or early lunch sends a stronger signal than the same protein eaten late at night. Here's a simple, realistic protocol. One solid, protein-focused meal before 2 p.m. Aim for a palm-and-a-half serving of protein. Include healthy fats to slow digestion. Avoid pairing with refined carbs that spike insulin. This is not about eating more food. It's about eating the right protein, in the right dose, at the right time. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post evidence-based strategies like this every day to help you protect muscle, mobility, and independence as you age. Up next, we'll look at something even more hidden: how blood sugar and insulin resistance silently shut down leg muscle repair, even if your diet looks healthy. Now let's talk about a silent muscle killer that almost no one connects to leg weakness: insulin resistance. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your leg muscles are the largest glucose disposal organs you have. After you eat, insulin's job is to open the door so glucose and amino acids can enter muscle cells and be used for energy and repair. But as we age, especially with years of high-carb, low-protein eating, those doors start to rust. This is insulin resistance. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine insulin as a key and your muscle cells as locks. In your younger years, the key fits easily, but over time, repeated sugar spikes bend the keyhole. Eventually, insulin shows up, and the door barely opens. When that happens, two dangerous things occur in the legs. Glucose stays in the blood instead of fueling muscle. Amino acids can't fully enter the muscle cell to trigger repair. So even if you eat protein, your legs can't use it efficiently. What the research shows is that insulin resistance appears first and strongest in large muscles, especially the thighs and glutes. That's why leg weakness often shows up before arm weakness. And here's the real trap. Many seniors are told to eat frequent small meals, emphasize whole grains, snack to keep energy up, but frequent carb intake keeps insulin elevated all day, which blocks fat burning and muscle repair. Your muscles need insulin to rise briefly and then fall. Chronically high insulin is toxic to muscle tissue. So what actually helps? First, reduce insulin noise. That means fewer meals, not more. Clear breaks between eating, no constant grazing. Even a simple 12-14-hour overnight fasting window dramatically improves insulin sensitivity in older adults without extreme dieting. Second, pair protein with low glycemic foods. Instead of oatmeal plus fruit, toast plus juice. Think eggs plus vegetables, fish plus olive oil plus greens, yogurt plus nuts plus cinnamon. Third, walk after meals. A 10-minute walk after eating can reduce post-meal blood sugar by up to 30%. That single habit directly improves leg insulin sensitivity because the muscles you use are the muscles that absorb glucose. This is why people say, I walk every day, but I'm still weak. Walking without fixing insulin is like pouring fuel into a clogged engine. When insulin sensitivity improves, protein starts working again. Muscle repair resumes. Strength stabilizes. Up next, we're going to uncover something even more overlooked: the liver-leg connection and how liver glycogen and fatty liver quietly drain strength from your lower body. Now let's talk about a connection almost no one mentions, yet it's critical for leg strength. Your legs do not run on muscle alone. They run on liver support. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your liver acts like a fuel bank. It stores glycogen, a form of glucose, and releases it steadily between meals, overnight, and during movement. Your leg muscles rely on this steady supply to maintain endurance, balance, and coordination. But as we age, especially with years of high sugar, processed carbs, and alcohol, the liver becomes metabolically sluggish. Fat begins to accumulate, a condition now called metabolic-associated fatty liver disease, which affects a majority of adults over 60. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your legs are hybrid cars. They can run on glucose or fat, but the battery is charged by the liver. If the liver can't store or release fuel properly, your legs stall. Not suddenly, gradually. You feel it as heavy legs, early fatigue, weakness climbing stairs, shaky balance when standing up. And here's the key insight. Muscle weakness caused by liver dysfunction is often mistaken for normal aging. What the research shows is that poor liver glycogen storage reduces muscle performance even when muscle mass looks normal. That's why some seniors appear muscular yet feel weak. So what foods support the liver and the legs? First, choline-rich foods. Choline helps export fat out of the liver and supports nerve signaling to muscles. Best sources: egg yolks, liver, even once a week, wild-caught fish. Second, bitter and colorful vegetables. These improve liver detox pathways and insulin signaling. Think: arugula, dandelion greens, broccoli, beets. Third, adequate healthy fats. Low-fat diets starve the liver's ability to regulate glucose. Olive oil, avocado, nuts, and omega-3s help restore metabolic flexibility, allowing your legs to switch between fuel sources smoothly. Here's a simple daily protocol: 1 protein-rich meal with healthy fat, at least 2 cups of vegetables, no added sugar with dinner, finish eating 3 hours before bed. This gives the liver time to refill glycogen overnight, which directly improves morning leg strength and balance. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post daily, science-based strategies to help you protect your metabolism, mobility, and independence naturally. Next, we'll focus on something many seniors overlook completely: the micronutrients that keep nerves firing, muscles contracting, and legs steady. Now let's talk about something subtle, but absolutely critical. Most leg weakness in seniors starts in the nerves, not the muscles. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every step you take depends on an electrical signal that starts in the brain, travels down the spinal cord, moves through peripheral nerves, and finally tells muscle fibers to contract in a coordinated way. If that signal is weak, delayed, or distorted, your legs don't respond with strength. They respond with hesitation. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your nervous system like the wiring in a house. The muscles are the appliances. If the wiring is damaged or underpowered, even a brand new appliance won't work properly. This is where micronutrient deficiencies quietly sabotage leg strength. The most important ones are vitamin B12. B12 is essential for nerve insulation, called the myelin sheath. Without it, nerve signals slow down or misfire. This shows up as leg weakness, numbness or tingling, poor balance, a heavy or uncoordinated feeling when walking. What the research shows is that B12 deficiency is extremely common in adults over 60, especially those who take acid blockers, metformin, or eat low animal protein diets. Best sources: eggs, fish, beef, liver. Supplementation is often necessary, ideally methylcobalamin or hydroxycobalamin, magnesium. Magnesium allows muscles to relax after contraction and supports ATP, your cellular energy currency. Low magnesium causes muscles to fatigue early and cramp easily. Common signs include night leg cramps, tight calves, weak push-off when walking. Best sources: pumpkin seeds, nuts, leafy greens. Magnesium glycinate or threonate are often best tolerated. Vitamin D. Vitamin D receptors are found directly in muscle tissue. Low levels reduce muscle fiber size and increase fall risk, independent of bone health. Research consistently links low vitamin D to reduce leg strength and slower walking speed in seniors. Best sources: sunlight, fatty fish egg yolks. Supplementation is often needed to reach optimal levels. Here's a simple protocol. Test vitamin D and B12 at least once a year. Eat nutrient-dense animal foods several times per week. Supplement intelligently, not megadoses, but consistency. When nerve signaling improves, strength improves, often before muscle size changes. Up next, we'll talk about something many people underestimate: blood flow, nitric oxide, and why even strong muscles fail when circulation is poor. Now let's talk about a factor that determines whether all of this nutrition even reaches your legs. Blood flow. Because you can eat the perfect diet, but if circulation is poor, your leg muscles are operating in an oxygen-starved environment. Here's what's really going on inside your body. As we age, the inner lining of blood vessels, called the endothelium, becomes less responsive. It produces less nitric oxide, the molecule that tells vessels to relax and widen. When nitric oxide drops, blood vessels stiffen, narrow, and deliver less oxygen and fewer nutrients to the legs. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine trying to water your garden through a hose that's slowly collapsing. The water supply is there, but it can't reach the root sufficiently. That's exactly what happens to leg muscles with impaired circulation. This shows up as cold feet or lower legs, heavy or tight calves, weakness during walking, slow recovery after activity. And here's the key insight. Poor circulation accelerates muscle loss even if protein intake is adequate. What the research shows is that nitric oxide availability directly affects muscle protein synthesis, mitochondrial function, and endurance, especially in the lower body. So how do you naturally support blood flow to your legs? First, nitric oxide boosting foods. These include beets, arugula, spinach, celery, pomegranate. These foods contain nitrates and polyphenols that the body converts into nitric oxide, improving blood flow within hours. Second, omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s reduce vascular inflammation and improve red blood cell flexibility, allowing oxygen to be delivered more efficiently. Best sources? Sardine, salmon, mackerel, or a high-quality fish oil supplement if needed. Third, light, consistent movement. You don't need intense exercise. In fact, aggressive workouts can backfire in insulin-resistant seniors. What works best? Walking, gentle cycling. Standing calf raises sitting to standing drills. These movements act like a pump, pushing blood back to the heart and retraining vessels to dilate. Here's a simple daily circulation protocol. 1 nitrate-rich vegetable per day, omega-3s with your largest meal, 5-10 minutes of movement every hour you're awake. This isn't about pushing harder. It's about keeping the pipeline open. Next, we'll bring everything together with the final, and often most overlooked, factor, timing. Because when you eat can determine whether your legs rebuild or continue to decline. Now let's talk about the final piece. And for many seniors, this is the missing link that makes everything else finally work. Timing. Because when you eat can matter just as much as what you eat, especially for leg strength. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your muscles follow a circadian rhythm. They are more insulin sensitive, more responsive to protein, and more capable of repair earlier in the day. As the day goes on, cortisol patterns shift, insulin sensitivity drops, and muscle protein synthesis becomes less efficient. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your muscles like a sponge. In the morning and early afternoon, the sponge is dry and ready to absorb nutrients. Late at night, it's already saturated. You can pour more on, but very little soaks in. This is why many seniors eat their largest protein meal at dinner and get very little benefit from it. What the research shows is that front-loading protein, eating more earlier in the day, improves muscle retention, leg strength, and balance in older adults, even without changes in exercise. Timing mistakes that quietly weaken legs, skipping breakfast or eating only carbs in the morning, saving protein for dinner, snacking late into the night, eating too frequently with no fasting window. So what's a smarter rhythm? Here's a realistic, sustainable template. Morning or first meal. High quality protein. Eggs, yogurt, fish, or whey. Healthy fat, low glycemic vegetables if desired. This sends a strong anabolic signal to leg muscles when they're most receptive. Midday. Balanced meal with protein, fat, and fiber. This supports blood sugar stability and prevents afternoon weakness. Evening. Lighter meal, emphasis on vegetables and protein. Minimal starch and no added sugar. Finish eating at least 3 hours before bed. And then comes the most powerful yet gentle tool of all, overnight fasting. A simple 12-14 hour fasting window improves insulin sensitivity, enhances growth hormone release, allows muscles to repair overnight. Reduces inflammation that weakens nerves and joints. This is not extreme fasting. This is simply allowing your body to complete its repair cycle. When timing is right, protein works better, insulin stays controlled, liver glycogen refills properly, blood flow improves, legs feel lighter and more stable. You don't need perfection. You need consistency and alignment with biology. Now let's bring everything together and talk about what this really means for your independence, mobility, and long-term health. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because what we've talked about today is not just about food, it's about preserving your independence, confidence, and quality of life. Weak legs are not an inevitable part of aging. They are the result of predictable, reversible physiological changes, changes in protein signaling, insulin sensitivity, liver function, nerve health, circulation, and timing. Here's what's really going on inside your body when legs weaken. Muscles stop responding to low-quality or poorly timed protein. Insulin resistance blocks nutrients from entering muscle cells. A sluggish liver fails to fuel movement properly. Nerve signals slow due to micronutrient deficiencies, blood flow narrows, starving muscles of oxygen, and late, poorly timed meals shut down repair when it matters most. None of these happen overnight, and that's actually good news because they can be addressed step by step. You don't need extreme workouts, you don't need medications, and you don't need to eat less and less every year. You need to eat strategically. To recap the most important takeaways, prioritize high-quality protein, especially earlier in the day. Reduce insulin resistance by spacing meals and walking after eating. Support your liver with choline, vegetables, and healthy fats. Ensure adequate vitamin D, B12, magnesium, and omega-3s. Improve circulation with nitrate-rich foods and gentle daily movement. Align eating with your circadian rhythm and allow overnight repair. If you do just these things, something remarkable often happens. People report standing up feels easier. Stairs feel less intimidating. Balance improves. Legs feel lighter and more responsive. Confidence returns. And here's the most important part. Muscle sends signals to the brain. Stronger legs are associated with better cognition, better glucose control, lower fall risk, and longer lifespan. When you protect your legs, you protect your future self. So here's my challenge to you. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one change today. Add a protein-rich first meal. Walk for 10 minutes after lunch. Include eggs or fish this week. Finish dinner a little earlier tonight. Then pay attention to how your body responds. Your body is incredibly intelligent. It just needs the right inputs. If this video added value, please like it and subscribe to the channel. You'll join a growing community of people who are choosing to age with strength, clarity, and metabolic resilience, naturally. And remember, it's not too late, but the time to support your legs is now.